I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate, and we are Real Estate Elevated. We're bringing you another shorts edition of our Moving to North Carolina Now What series. And today is going to be a pretty simplistic one, but it's super important that you understand the buying process, especially here in North Carolina. So today's episode is, what does the buying process look like? So we're going to start at the very beginning, and this is often a step that people kind of do in opposite order, but do I talk to my lender first or do I talk to my agent first? Ideally, you want to talk to your lender and get something called a pre-qualification letter. Now, pre-qualification, pre-approval, little different. One is a soft credit pull versus a hard credit pull. You want to make sure that you talk to your lender and see, is there something you need to do before you purchase, as in credit repair, or are you ready and raring to go, and what is your purchasing power? I hate when people get pigeonholed into a home, they've fallen in love, and then all of a sudden they realize their buying power isn't as strong as maybe they thought. So always double check and make sure you're talking to an actual lender and not using any kind of online calculator, which may not be including some really important data or even some payment history that could affect your interest rate or even your payment process. The second thing is going to be something called a buyer orientation, or a sit down with the agent you plan on working with. A couple of things need to get hashed out during that process. Do you like the person you're working with? What does that dynamic look like? What can you expect in communication? As well as just talking about, what is it going to be like when we're searching for homes? How do I reach out when I'm interested in a home? And then when we go under contract, what is kind of the quick steps that I can expect? And then on closing day and moving forward, what does that dynamic look like? So make sure in your buyer orientation, you're asking a lot of future questions. This should not be just a quick phone call, but you also want to tell your agent your expectations throughout the entire process. If you are a family that's moving here to North Carolina, a big thing you may also want to discuss is schools. We have some other videos that specifically talk about Wake County Public Schools and kind of how to find real estate and work that marriage together. So definitely check that one out. The third thing is creating your search. I always recommend having an MLS search set up. This is through something called the Collab Center. The Collab Center will take some really explicit data, and it will actually take that data and then plug it into a system that will populate some results for you. The one caveat to this is it's not qualitative data, it's quantitative data, and sometimes there's some fields that just can't be input. For example, let's say that you are looking for a home with a fenced-in backyard. Unfortunately, there's not a little box we can check that says, yes, this home has a fence. Sometimes you're going to have to either glean that from photos, aerial images in the GIS system, or even visit the home yourself to verify those factors. Definitely still recommend checking out some third-party sites as well. Now, keep in mind the Collab Center is real-time data versus some of the third-party sites being off of IDX systems and having some delays or not getting updated at all. But there are some types of homes that will not be present in the MLS search, and that is for sale by owner properties. So just keep in mind those do come with some of their own caveats, which we can talk about later, but I would definitely recommend having multiple searches so you can make sure you're casting both a specific and a broad net. The third thing is actually walking through some properties. So make sure that when you're walking through these properties and you've created that search and you're also kind of gleaning, what do I like, what do I not like, you want to keep a running list of, this is important, these are our hard we have to haves, and then our hard no's is then these are the things that we don't want to include in the search or things that we could possibly live without. So after every single showing, because for some folks it could be one, some it could be 100, it just depends on the client and also your timeline, but keep in mind you want to keep that running list so that when it does become go time, you're comparing that particular property to your yeses and to your nos. Moving forward, obviously putting out some offers and getting under contract. In today's market with low inventory, it's still a seller's market. We're still seeing lots of multiple offers here in the triangle. It may take more than one time for you to either get acclimated to putting out offers and being as aggressive as needed, or you may get into multiple offer scenarios where you just can't necessarily compete with the potential other buyers that are competing with you. So be prepared to get a little bit of experience with that. But with the experience, you'll get more and more comfortable with the different types of contract terms. And then once you go under contract, the fun really begins. So during the contract period, you're going to see a couple different stages. In North Carolina, we have our contract broken into two different segments. The due diligence period, where you're ordering that appraisal, you're getting your survey done, as well as spending money on inspections and kind of deciding what do we like, what do we not like, and how can we reevaluate whether or not this is the right house for us. Often there can be some negotiations as well to get you some either repair money or repairs done by the sellers themselves. And then we enter the earnest time period. This is the latter half of the contract, and typically not a whole lot happens. Some of your honeydew items that you may want to accomplish is changing your new address by a certain date, setting up those utilities, definitely confirming that your mover or whatever system you're using to get your stuff from point A to point B is still on track. And then we get to closing day. Closing day, you always want to make sure you have that final walkthrough scheduled. You're actually putting eyes on the property one last time to make sure that it's still the right one. Nothing has happened since the last time you visited. Utilities are still turned on for a quick and easy transfer. And then once all of that's done and all is well, you'll move to the closing table and sign all your documents. But keep in mind, you're not going to actually get that key until the deed records. Once that's done, the home is yours, and that is the end of the buying process. So keep in mind, this is kind of a quick and dirty version of start to finish. There's lots of little things that can also happen that may not be in the norm for a contract. It might be specific to your particular journey or contract period. So you always want to make sure you're working with a real estate professional that, again, is knowledgeable, knows how to pivot, and also can gear that towards your particular needs and expectations. I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate. Be sure to follow us here on YouTube by subscribing to our channel, and you can also listen to us on your drive on Spotify and podcasts everywhere. We'll see you next time.